Figured I would say something, passing the time. If you come on over here, we could be on the same side.
Same side, same side.
Welcome to Simon Says. This is episode 3. It's all about toning today, and we're toning with the Leyton House permanent colour range. So come on in, we're going to play with a couple of tones and shades and tone some hair.
Same side.
In this episode today, we're working with Amy. Amy's my sister. So she's copped a couple of bad ones in a time, but they're getting better with age, like a great bottle of wine. 32 years in, I'd be really good drinking that. So permanent toners, they are five swatches on the chart. We're going to use one of those, and we're going to explain that in depth as we get into it. But we're going to clean up this beautiful blonde. It actually is quite nice. We're just going to give it a little bit more sophistication with the toner. Let's talk permanent toners. So there are 5 permanent toners in the range. You can always also use all of the level 9 colors and the level 10 colors. So we can make up any color we want, which is a great thing, you know, and that's the creative thing with toning, is the world's your oyster, is make it work. So today we're going to pretty much focus on those 5 toners. So we have a 0.021, a 0.052, a 0.23, so these become a little bit more intense, a 0.22, which is lilac, and a 0.11, which is frost. So when we have a 0 involved, they're usually a little bit softer because it has some natural in there. So these ones, if you're going for a classic tone, the champagne would work really well. Today we're going to work with the rose, the 0.052. So it's got that beautiful little hue of rose, but it's a hint of it. It's not flooding the hair with pink, which is what I love. I don't want it to be too obvious. I want it to be gentle and soft, but I want it to have this lustrous shine. And I really want an expensive flavor on this toner. And that's why we tone. It just makes people feel a little bit more expensive. I think that's a great way to feel when you leave a salon. So with that, we're going to mix it today with a 1.5. So that's going to go maximum deposit, and we're not going to lift the hair in any way. So that's really important. It's just there to add tone to the hair. And then if you have some unwanted yellow or any sort of gold, it will counteract that color 100%. So we're going to go ahead, and what we're going to do is today mix 2 tones up. It's the same color, but we're going to mix the 0.052 first, which is rose, and we're going to do 1 to 2. So 1 part tint, 2 parts developer. So that is basically going to dilute that a little bit, so it's a little bit more gentle on the hair. We don't need to go to a 1 to a 1.5 like you would a tint in the rest of the range. And then for the second part, what I'm going to do is just section off that front hairline of Amy. So what I find with sometimes the toners, especially with Amy, it grabs, and then we end up with too much of an overtone on that front hairline. So what I'm going to do is mix the 12OS, half, and half 0.052, the rose, so the same tone as the rest of the hair. This is just going to soften it out and dilute it a little bit so we don't get that grab and it just doesn't shock you at the front of the hair. It moves into the toner really beautifully. So we'll get mixing on that. So 1 part tint, 2 parts developer. So I'll mix both colors. I'll do them both because you've got to work pretty quick with a toner. So the development time's up to 20 minutes. So if you're not working quick, you really are behind the pace. You know, you want it to develop all as one. So I'm going to put the back color on first, the straight rose, the 0.052, and then the front color we are going to put on last, just so we can control that overtoning. Okay, so we get to the toner. This is straight 0.52, remember, and 0.052 and 1.5%. I'm just going to take that front hairline out of the way first. So just about an inch. And then just take that out of the way. You don't need to be too tidy with that. And off we go. Divide the hair up. You want a little bit on every hair like any color, but you need to work quite quickly, and then we'll really emulsify it through the hair and massage it in. So quite big sections. You don't need to be as tight as you are with a tint. And then we get to here, I use my thumb and just really paint that on, but I work quite quickly. Next section. I like to work at the base and with the toner. I can keep an eye on it here. If it needs to come off, I get it off. But the thing is with the toner is it's 5 minutes to 20 minutes total, right? So 20 minutes is its longest time on the hair. But you think, this is how I break it down. Every minute it's on the hair will be one shampoo. So if you want to get a toner that lasts the distance, you really need to leave it that full development time, if you can. 20 minutes. 20 minutes of toning, up to 20 minutes. So you got to look at it and keep an eye on it. But I think the longer it's on, the longer it lasts. What I'm going to do now is just massage this through the hair so it's evenly distributed. We're not doing anything with this hair because it's not lightened. It's just working on the lightened hair, the pre-lightened hair. Okay, now we'll put toner number 2 on with just that front hairline area. And that's the half mix with the 12 OS. The reasoning for this, I just don't want it to grab on the front hairline. I want it to be really gentle into the rest of the hair. So it's just my little insurance policy, I guess. It's okay that it overlaps the other color. It's the same color. It's just a more diluted version. Softens it up. Just really milk that through to the ends, working it right into the hair, making sure you've got a little bit on it everywhere. I know I think with a color like this, I really want to get as much punch out of it as possible. So I'm just going to let that process. Visually looking at it, yeah, you know, if you're a little bit nervous about it, I know that's the thing with hairdressers, we get a bit toner nervous. You know, you sort of go, should I rinse it off? Is it ready now? Is it going to overtone? Have I gone too much? Have I got enough? All those things go through our head. Our client doesn't know that, but quietly inside we're burning with that. So I think it's just a thing where you've got to trust in your product. It's just a matter of knowing your color wheel, understanding what color you're counteracting, which is toning, and then choosing that color and applying it and having faith in the products. The Simon Says tip for this episode is trust in your color. This brand won't let you down. Go away, mix your color, make sure you know your color wheel because you've got to know what you're counteracting. That's what toning is. Mix your color up, put it on, and just keep a watchful eye on it. I just want to break down the 5 toners. And I thought it was a good example to put it onto a weft. So this was a level 10 weft. And we've toned toner 1, 2, 3. So this is your... And then we move into your rose, your 0.052, and this is your suede 0.23. So it's very soft, and you can see these two with the zeros in them, they are a little bit more gentle. So if I group them together and we're going to compare the 0.52, the rose, which is a beautiful tone, up against the champagne. And you can see such a tonal difference, but when you put them together, it travels down quite nicely into that one. And then we move into your 0.23, so it's a little bit stronger. And it's a little bit more of a suede result against the champagne. But that's a beautiful caramelized tone as well. Be lovely on that mid-level blonde. And if I flip around, we move into the other two shades, so they're a little bit stronger. So you've got your lilac, which is your 0.22, and you can just see that tone in there. It's beautiful. 0.22, and then we move in your 1.11, so that's a frost. So it's a lot cooler, a lot more of a grey tone. So that'd be for an overtoned effect. So you can see over the 5 toners, you really get this, you know, this beautiful mix. You can intermix them, you know, and come up with some formulations. Don't forget that you can mix in all the 9 series in the permanent color and all of the 10s. So you can mix them in with these, without them. Like today, we diluted one with the 12 OS. So that just took out its intensity slightly, but gives us a very similar result. So, you know, these are fun, have a play with them, and, you know, ask other people their favorite toners. You know, when you see a great color in the salon, say, how did you get that? You know, what's your favorite caramel? I think it's really important to discuss this with each other. And that's how we train each other, is just asking questions and, you know, noticing that each other's work is fantastic as well in the salon. Ready to rinse now. You can see here, it's just a slightly gentle tone difference, really gentle, which I like. I just didn't want this part to grab. I wanted this to be gentle and just get more into that rose feel through the rest, but it's really subtle toner. Can't wait to see it. You can see our result is beautiful, soft, shiny color, but it just has given it that little bit of maturity to the color. It's not just a bleach or a lightener. It's just got, you can see the remnants of the 5 and the 2 to cool it off. So, you know, 0.52, so 0.052. You can see all of those elements in that color. It's beautiful. And when it dries, it'll morph and change again. We're gonna cut this now. I'm going to go quite tight around the edges. I'm going to use my thinning scissors and do a little bit of scissor over comb with the thinning scissors. Make it sort of look like that used tennis ball texture. So it's not a really hard look, it's a little bit lived in. I quite like doing that rather than making it too barbed. You know, it's a female, I want it to be soft. And why I use tennis ball, when they're used, they just get that little bit of fluff around the edges. It's not so machined, and that's why I like to use the thinning scissors. We'll get that done first, and then we're going to cut the top. It's going to go forward. And then what Amy would like is a little bit of a broken edge, a lot of a broken edge. So we're going to be quite aggressive with that. So it's got, you know, short and long hair happening there. So it's a really broken line, shorter at the back, the longer at the front. And then that will sweep over this way, or we could style it up and over as well. So a few key products we're going to use. I want to use control cream. I want to cut with that, especially not so much for this, but for this, I think that will dry into the hair beautifully. It does control the hair. There's a bit of luster about it. It's got a really nice finish, nice straight sections when I'm cutting. And then as I blow dry, that'll come into its own. And then I'm gonna finish with powder power. So it's a spray-in powder, great application, really fine. There's no dust looking in the hair. Sometimes powders can do that, which this doesn't. It's very light. And it's maneuverable, so you can build it as you go, which I like. It's not just a finishing point, it's something we can work towards. So I'll get a little bit of control cream in first. So again, not overusing the product, getting it on like a hand cream. And then when I apply this to wet hair, I really get it right through, so work it through. Push it forward, push it back, push it to the side. And even on that little bit of hair around the edges, you can do that too. Just use the after, you know, right at the end, just sort of a little tiny bit of that, so it doesn't go fluffy. There's nothing worse than that, sort of nothing on here and a lot of product on there. It's only a medium hold, so it won't set the hair in any way, but you can see how much shine you get on the hair. You can work in with it, and then your sections just stay so much cleaner when you use a product to cut Simon Says tip of this episode is using the control cream as a cutting agent is fantastic. It makes the sections that you take nice and clean, and you've got control over the hair. As that hair dries, that product comes into action. So it's great to put a product in while you're cutting. So the idea with the thinning scissor and the comb is to give it a little bit of a softer, still nice and tight and short, but it just doesn't cut off every hair. It's cutting off about 30% of the hair. So what you want to do is slow scissor, slow comb, fast scissor. So my comb's moving really slowly and my scissors are moving fast. And you can see the hair coming off there and it's tightening up, but it gets a little bit of variation in that. So you don't get that really machined short haircut. It's a little bit more feminine. It's a little bit more work for your hand. Like my left hand, my scissor hand is working harder than normal. But it's a definitely worthwhile result. What I do is work in panels, so this panel, and then I just carry around the head like that. Don't go ahead of myself and build a bit here and a bit here. I've got to work really methodically and just work in a system. Okay, so we're going to start on the top sections now. I'm going to just peel off a couple of sections. It's pretty much a backward diagonal like that. Nice and clean to the back, on the same on the other side. And then I'm going to start cutting in my line here, really broken line. I want it quite jagged, short at the back to longer at the front. I'll probably come down to something just shorter than this. So I want that to travel up, expose a bit of the ear, and then come up a bit higher at the back. You can see that section there, two backward diagonal sections to a point in the middle. Nice and clean. Head in the forward position, I'm going to start at the back. Just the wide teeth of the comb. I'm going to work really loosely on this. So I don't want it too refined. Still firm, still got plenty of tension on the hair, just with the wide teeth. And a deep point cut that in. I usually rough in a line first so I don't muck around. I don't want to do these tiny little ½ centimeter sections. I want to see how it feels and then I'll go and refine it. See how broken that is. It's exactly what I want. So cutting up into there, I'm not taking too much length off those front bits. But I'm cutting sections right up into there. Just slide a few of the long wispy ones off. And then I'll detail that later. I want to take so much more out of there, but I just want to rough in my shape. Same on the other side. Just going to slide that out now. Just quite selective with what I'm taking out. I'm just breaking the hair up. So I'm coming up above it. I'm not coming from underneath. It's actually sort of in its natural fall. I just pick it up and I slide out the pieces that I want to slide out. I choose what I want to slide out. So you can see what that does. It just lightens the load through there. Makes it a little bit piecier, which is exactly what we're going for. Here I've got to reverse that. Work onto the top section now. So what I want to do with that is keep in the same game through here, but I want to bring it out slightly, and I want to go with the head shape here, and then I'll knock the point off it. So I want to sort of connect it up to that point out here, and that'll give this a bit of shape, really loose again. And the top, I might not even cut that with a point cut. I'm just going to slide it out and see what we get, because I want to really remove a lot of bulk and have a lot of short and long pieces. It's still got to have a structure. You can't just slice it off and hope for the best or razor it off. You've still got to have a plan and know where you want the hair to sit. So it's really important when you're talking free haircuts and not so structured to have a plan. Still got to have a structure, and then you loosen up the technique. Again, I'm going to section down, and I'm going to pull back to that previously cut section because I want to increase the length as I move forward. So back to that last cut section, pretty much with head shape. My hands are parallel to the head shape and really deep point cut. And all it does is just breaks that up there, but it gives this a little bit of support and shape through here. Whole section now back onto that previously cut section. Just detail this out a little bit, hold it down to where we're going, and just individually slide a few pieces out. See what that does? Just breaks that up, cuts really deep V's in there, and then that separates those ends. We come to the front, I'm just going to detail that and visually connect it up. I'm not really going to give it any technical support. I'm just going to go in there and slide it off to where it should fit. So I'm working around that face shape. And then I'm just going to knock off that point on the top by sliding it out. As I said, I'm not going to give that much technical thought either. I just want to sort of lighten the load through here. So I'm going to comb it forward. And then just pick a point on the face. So I don't want to take too much off, but I'm going to come down just between probably the lip level. I think, it's really important when you're cutting someone's hair, what are you doing with it, right? You either want to raise cheekbones. Good aims are cheekbones, nose, lip, chin. So they're the things that we're going to pick up and pinpoint. We're going for angles. We're going on a jaw angle. You don't want to go too steep, it won't look right. So keep it simple. So here's sliding out the top. So just a slicing technique. I'm just pushing my fingers around so I want to feed the hair into the scissors, just like that. So across the head, quite large section. And there's a point on there that needs to come off. Instead of connecting it up really technically, let the hair flop over and just slice it out. I want short hair in amongst that. This whole section can be cut now because we've determined the length at the front, so that will drop out. I'm going to project it back so it does drop out. And I'm not cutting that hair, it's here. Just a bit more removal of weight through there. So bigger slices. Do it slower. Really taking shape now. Really like the way that that's a really broken line. And it's quite textured. We could put it right in a face for a really editorial look. It could probably push back and quiff up as well. Or we could sleek it across and wear it as a sweepy little fringe. So it's got a bit of versatility in it. Okay, so we come to the end of Amy's look, and it's all about some powder now. So Powder Power is a lightweight powder. It doesn't leave any residue on the hair, but it's got a bit of hold and a bit of play, so we can keep building on that. So it's easy to apply, just spray it on. You can just see it just separates the hair, and then I can twist it and push it any which way I want. There's no oily residue like some waxes, so that's the beauty of it, and I really like its matte finish. Okay, this is a finished look for Amy. Great result. So the 12 OS, we mixed half of that and half of the 0.052 and 1.5% at the front, just so we got a little bit of a softer blend, which has really come up a treat. It's so gentle, this toner. And by putting the Powder Power over the top, it's just made it a little bit dusty and textured. You know, I think it'll be really versatile, a great toner for just something that little bit different. If you just want to move away from that clean, Arctic looking blonde, which is beautiful, I think this is better. It's beautiful. Cool, so that concludes this episode. Thanks for watching once again, and we'll talk to you soon.
On the same side. On the same side.